Because we're old farts, we can go to bed. That's
I'm not that old, dude. I haven't had dinner yet, man.
well, yeah, Pacific Coast time. I mean, it's
Yeah,
already
that's
dark
true.
here.
That's true.
Uh, Sun set down. It was kind of sad. Because we're in that what would we call it? The twilight era. The not the twilight zone, but the twilight. Because I was on with Elkins earlier today on the Elkins Hour, and he got a question about this kid. He's like, I'm planning on being a CPA in 2025. And then my mind immediately like, what the hell's wrong with this kid? Who forecasts that far away? That's like ages away. That I look, I'm like, I do the math. I'm like, oh shit, that's 7 years away. Shit. And then I do an additional math because I was born in 75, so it's always quarter century. So 2000, I'm 25. 2025, I'll be 50. I'm like, fuck. 7 years from now, I'll be 50, and we're officially old. Like, well, not old, but we're not young men no more. I mean, we're solid middle age by that time.
Oh yeah, I'm pushing 50. I'm not there yet, but I'm almost.
Yeah, yeah. And then this won't be a gimmick no more. See, well, like 10 years ago, I was a young, spry 30-something, and I was ahead of my time. Now I'm a bitter, old, angry man with wisdom. Listen to me, kids. And now the edginess is gone because I'll have full gray hair by that time. I'll look like Steve Martin. And
Well, Aaron, I think you were kind of a bitter old man since you were like 25.
no, it started way. You don't know when it started. Not to get all Freud or anything on you like that, or whatever psychologists say. It started at 3. It started at 3.
Oh God,
it was
you
that
poor
bad.
bastard.
Whereas, like, what does a 3-year-old want? What's a 3? Because you ain't got no control, right? You gotta live with your folks, and you can't just go off on your own. And what's the one thing a 3-year-old gets to look forward to?
I don't know, food.
Well, okay, aside from the basic staples, although this is related.
Parental attention. I don't know.
No. Like the funnest thing. What's the funnest day? What's the peak time of the year a 3-year-old looks at?
Birthdays and Christmas.
Christmas, right. So, because Christmas, birthday's a little less so, but Christmas was always like, oh, I get the toys. That's what I want was the freaking toys. And Santa Claus, he's this great guy. He's going to come down. And, we don't have a fireplace, but somehow he manages it. And and then that's when I'd get sweaters and pants and shit that your parents are supposed to buy you fucking anyway because they bred. It's like, no, wait. This is 101. This is what you got to do every day. Like, where's the toys? Where's the fun, man? And like, your grandma got you a nice sweater. And I didn't know what the Great Depression was. But had I known what the Great Depression was, I say, what is this? The fucking Great Depression, as a smart alecky 3-year-old might say. And it was just year after year, just getting my hopes dashed with fucking basic staples of life for Christmas. And I know people had it way worse than me, but like when you're looking for like toys, like, oh my God, I can't wait. Oh, what this guy's, if I'm nice, he'll give me the thing on this list that I put in the mail that you said you mailed to the North Pole. I didn't ask for no fucking sweaters. Why am I getting fucking socks? What's this shit? So it started there. We wouldn't exist today if I was given toys back in 1978. See?
Well, you know what? You sparked a memory.
Oh.
As poor as we were, me and my mom, it was like a single mother, divorced, dad, deadbeat dad kind of situation. That was the one, we lived like in this total shithole, this 1-bedroom apartment. I'm serious, like roach infested, rodent infested, total shithole. New York City, like fucking slum. But one thing my mother always did, for some reason, I always got real toys when I was a kid. I don't know how she did it. Well, actually, I kind of do know. My mother was a hairdresser, and she worked in this very fancy hotel on the Upper East Side that actually had a beautician
salon inside it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Upper East Side Manhattan.
Okay.
Like there was actually people that used to live in the hotel. Don't ask me how that worked, but there was, very, very well. It was just our clientele was a bunch of old, rich ladies, mostly Jewish. But I think that's how I got the toys, because she would talk, she was this young woman, and she taught, everybody knew she was a single mom, and that, she was an immigrant, and they were probably like, oh, this poor white trash woman or whatever. And I'm guessing that's how I got toys, was that they, made sure that somehow I got toys. Maybe, you know, they bought them for my mother, and, you know, I'd have to confront her. She'd probably be too proud to admit it.
Yeah, she wouldn't say, "Oh no, I don't know something." What I mean, were they like? What I was gonna say is, those hair salonists or the manicurists and all that, they develop a relationship with the regular clientele. They almost act as like kind of a secondary therapist of sorts. In a lot of cases.
Totally. My mother was like practically a psychologist. I remember this one story when I was a kid. I don't know, what was I? Maybe like in 6th grade. And she had a client, this woman whose grandson died, like, you know, died as an infant or whatever. And my mother used to make extra money. She used to go to people's houses and do their hair. This very wealthy woman, and she was crying. I remember, and I went to Catholic school, and I remember my mother had her, you know, it was all teary eyed. She came back from doing an appointment with this woman like on a Sunday or something. And I remember my mother asked me this question, and I was, you know, 6th grade, or maybe even younger. And she said, "Why is God so cruel that he would do this? Like, explain it to me." Like, as if I would have some fucking insight to that at, you know, at that age, you know. I mean, but I'll never forget that. It always stuck in my mind, and it was because my mother had developed this relationship to her. So it was like this, like, unfortunately, she spent too much time with this woman. I don't know how much of her hair she did, or they just sat around and cried. But, you know, there was this kind of like transference that went on where the therapist actually got too close to the client, or, you know, kind of a situation. But yeah.
Well, were your toys like legit toys? Like, you know, they were
no, they were real toys. Like, I mean, well, it's kind of funny because you were talking about the clothes, and like when I was, because we weren't like always really, but let's say like the first 10 years of my life, it was pretty tough, you know. And I used to get, like, my clothes would always be like the funny looking clothes. My mother would like shop at like Sears, you know what I mean, for clothes. You know, you get like the really fucked up weird shit, and, you know, weird corduroy. You know, I looked, you know, weird, you know.
Oh, did you have to wear girls' clothes? Because I had to wear boys' clothes.
You still wear boys' clothes?
Hey, no, how's it going?
It just looks like that because I don't have any tits. Hey, you can hear me. Awesome.
Yeah, you're coming through loud and clear. No, I didn't wear girls' clothes that I knew of. Well, wouldn't, but I mean, it was common that parents would buy boys' clothes for girls because they're bigger. Well, my mom used to do weird things, like she would buy clothes that were like, instead of like one size too big, she'd buy them like 3 sizes too big.
Well, see, my mom didn't buy me boys' clothes on purpose. I got boys' clothes because I got hand-me-downs. So sometimes I'd get like, I had a cousin who was a year older than me, and she had a brother, and they were both like about a size bigger than me. So I'd get both of their clothes.
So then what'd you do? You just grew into them then, John?
Yeah. You know, you're asking, you know, I'm an old man, so you're asking me to go. Yeah, basically, yeah. If they weren't worn out, I'd grow into them, you know. And same thing with the shoes. I remember, like, that was another thing with the shoes. She'd always buy me the shoes like a whole full size too big, so I'd be like flopping around like fucking a clown in these shoes, you know.
I remember now, because you were all right. If you're older than me, then John, I'm wondering, do you remember what? Let me get everything. We got Doc on, we got Ann on. What year in the 60s do you think fashion was the worst? That's a hard one to peg down, but I'd be really curious to figure out what year. I mean, it was all atrocious.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, who has the worst herpes boil? But
thanks for the visual, Aaron. Really, seriously.
No, I want to say it was 77, 78. Anyone going with me on that, or you guys think a little earlier?
Yeah, well, I would go with 77, 78 because I remember the colors just getting horrendous around that time.
Yeah,
I just remember brown. Remember, everything was brown.
It's a brown avocado.
Corduroy, yeah, cords too.
What year you estimate there, Doc?
I'd say about 77. I think, you know,
Okay.
corduroy. Just, it seems every pair of pants, you know, made a noise when you were walking with corduroy. God, I hated those things.
I remember this hideous color, like John hit it on the head, so did Ann, but it was brown, yellow, and orange. And you could get that color in plaid. You could just, it was just this hideous. I think it actually marred me as a kid a little bit, just how everything was so ugly. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you remember the the Beatles had like an album come out, and they're all dressed in some LSD. It was like a cartoon drawn LSD influence. It was just horrible, just horrible. So this all gets back to fashion because I remember we get hand-me-downs too. I don't think it could be Gen X and not get hand-me-downs, but the timing was so bad because I had an uncle, my Uncle Jeff, God bless him, great man. He was significantly younger than my dad. And he was very small. He was a petite man. So they would give me, and I was the oldest in my generation of the family. So they would give me Uncle Jeff's hand-me-downs. So now we're talking 83, 84, and I'm getting these corduroy pants, these horrible orange brown ugly shirts and sweaters, and they're giving, and it's all from circa 1977, 1978, when he was, maybe a smaller guy, and I could fit into it as, like a 8 or 9 year old. And then when middle school came around, thank God we got out of the hand-me-downs. But my gosh, that was just, it's just a horrible fashion, just horrible.
Yeah, when I was in junior high, I had a cousin she was living in Italy, and her dad got a promotion, so she was buying all this weird shit like silver loafers and multicolored Italian pants, and I'm in the middle of Wisconsin. Everybody's got a Guess sweatshirt and Guess jeans, and I'm wearing like boys' clothes and silver loafers.
You guys, any of you have the grandma who was hip and she'd wear like the 1970s Lisa Minnelli from New York with the sequins and it was gold and leopard print? Did anyone else have that horrible nightmare?
Nah, my grandmas were both farmer type, farmery clothing.
Yeah, mine were. Well, the thing about the hand-me-downs, I guess I'm lucky because my parents were immigrants, so I didn't have any family here to get hand-me-downs from. I didn't mean as a wise.
I'm just laughing. Like you dodged that bullet. Like they couldn't force you to wear hand-me-downs because there was no one to get them from.
Yeah, pretty much. So I actually, that's the one thing I never, because when Aaron was telling that story, I was feeling bad for him because actually I know that shirt that he's talking about, that pattern.
Yeah,
that brown. It was Aaron. That was popular in the mid '70s. That pattern, I know exactly.
I'm aware. Yeah, my Uncle Jeff had it when it was popular. I got it 8 years after.
Oh my God! And get this. My mother's Wisconsin accent is so atrocious that for years I thought they were actually called hand-me-downs. HAMMYDOWNS. I'm like, why are they making me wear ham clothes?
You should get hammydowns.com and you could just sell a new fashion line. The end in your hands, hand-me-downs.
Hand-me-downs.
Any of you guys have the Michael Jackson look going, with the pants with 45 zippers and stuff like that?
No, we couldn't afford it. What, 83, 84, like Thriller era?
Yeah, my mom. So one day I came home from school, so I'm like maybe 12 at the time. And she has this black pair of Michael Jackson pants, but they're like the Kmart version and they're completely vinyl. So I put these things on and wear them to school and literally I'm just sweating. I mean, these things oh my God, it was horrible. I wore them once. And then the zippers it was just absolutely ridiculous. And, oh God. And then she paired it up, I think, like with a disco shirt, like a satin disco, and had a big record on the back. I mean, I could have walked into any club anywhere and I'd have been fine. I mean, it was, oh my God. I'm amazed that my friends, didn't kick the hell out of me or say, hey, dude, never check here. Like, take this shit and burn it when you get home.
Thankfully, one thing I'll give the younger generations, and I will say it started with the grunge movement in Gen X, is when they abandoned. I think we hit peak brand name where if you didn't have Nike high, I remember getting in fights because I had Velcro shoes from Walmart. It was like you had to tuck in your jeans, you had to roll your jeans, you had to have this kind of jeans, you had to have. And here I like we didn't have necessarily the money to buy brand name clothes. But I remember going to college, that all went away in about a year and a half. We're now, we're going to go to Ragstock, we're going to go to Goodwill and get it. And now, and I think it's being reinforced with the internet. So, like, you were allowed to have different, what would you call it? Not necessarily trends. They were trends, but they were signals, sociological signals. Like, I'm going to wear this. Oh, we're all going to wear that. Okay. We're all going to signal tribalism. We're all kind of on the same page here. We're all
Right.
going to wear our hair this way. We're all going to have the feather bangs. We're all going to wear mullets. It'll all be really great in 1991. But now that the internet has been out there, you could kind of see fashion, car design, music. There has been no real evolution or definitive types of music or fashion, or you could even maybe say culture, since the internet has come along. Because do cars look right now? What is it? 2018. Let's go back to 1998. Do the cars really look any different? It's all bubbly space car-y, right?
Yeah. I mean, my car is 11 years old, and I've had people say, "Yeah, I mean, did you just get it?" and stuff like that, because it does blend. I mean, it does blend in. So yeah, there wasn't anything. It wasn't like the GTOs of the 70s and stuff like that. So.
Right. And I've been wearing jeans and boots this entire time for the past 20 years. I've never really changed my fashion at all. Am I correct? Fashion has not changed much?
Yeah. I mean, no, I'm with you there. I've got a lot of the stuff that I wore 20 years ago, and I think it's still fashionable today.
The only thing that's changed is that I can afford to have some of the things I want now.
Yeah, but do you want anything now?
Well, I just bought myself a pinstripe suit, because I remember back in the 80s.
Hold it. Didn't you just finish complaining about having to wear guys' clothing?
It's a lady suit.
Oh, a lady suit. Okay. Right. Continue on. Sorry.
Yeah, because briefly in the 1980s, there was a fad for pinstripe pants, and I wanted a pair of pinstripe jeans really fucking bad. And I asked my mom for a pair, and she just went into this massive, like, 2-day long tantrum about how she hadn't had new clothes since the 1970s. And you kids don't know what we've sacrificed for you, and you don't know what we've given up since you were born. And how dare you ask for an expensive pair of pants? And just like 2 days worth of screaming over these fucking pinstripe jeans. I was like, fine, I'll put the boys' clothes back on, end your little boomer tantrum. Go sit back in your chair, suck on your Cheetos.
Did you ask her, well, if things are so great, why'd you have kids who couldn't afford? Or was that lost on her?
Yeah, that was kind of lost on her. Actually, my parents were Catholic, and then my mother, she couldn't seem to conceive, so they thought they were going to get away without having any kids.
Ah.
And I came around about the time, like, my mother was like 32 when she had me. They thought they were going to get off scot-free.
Oh, you ruined the fun, Ann.
I
ruined the fun.
Yep. And all of a sudden they're like, shit, it's not going to abort itself. And I'm like, nope.
Oh. Well, anyway, welcome to the Older Brother Podcast. Doc, you got to explain this to me. Why you have an impressive wood pile. You got what, 3 cords in your basement?
Yeah, well, 3 cords or 9 face cords. So yeah, it's a hell of a lot of wood.
In your basement?
Yeah. It's in the same room where the furnace is, and
so it can catch fire, and you have a really big fire. Okay.
I have insurance. I'm good.
All right.
But we were more worried about your wife and children than your. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I've done it for years, but actually I used to do it in a marathon. So I would work like sun up to sundown hauling this wood. And I mean, now I'll be 47 and I'm like, there's no way. So I spread it out over a couple of weeks, but yeah, it's pretty impressive. I mean, the Egyptians, if they could fast forward and knock on my door and, we built Giza, but can we take a look at this wood pile? Because how the hell did you get and you know what Aaron, and when you put a wood pile together, you've got to do it actually kind of piece by piece so it doesn't get out of kilter, and like if it doesn't get wobbly and you have to cross things. So
yeah, there's a stacking method. Absolutely.
And it's very kind of peaceful actually and methodical to do that. So it's almost like, catharsis of that project. But yeah, it's already dry. So, I mean, that's one thing you asked me, like, you have termites, snakes, rats, raccoons climbing out of it. And I'm like, yeah, it's not the Chevy Chase Christmas scene with the squirrel jumping out, but Yeah, I monitor it and got the room for it, but I don't have any place outside to put it. That's where the snakes are, and the garage is too small. So
Well, that's what confuses me is you don't have anywhere just to put like kind of because a lot of people will use their wood pile and it will double as a fence of sorts.
yeah, well, see, we have we have a lot of grass snakes. So literally, like my neighbors, they'll fire up the grill and then the grill's outside. They flip the lid off and there's like 5 snakes looking back at them. I mean, when I'm mowing them, I mean, these things are just slithering all through the yard. So one of the neighbors hires a kid to like pick them up in a pillowcase, But so that's the thing is I just don't want the wood pile to it would become a snake haven, So that's the deal. I got a concrete slab on the side of the garage, like the perfect spot for it. But this is just easier. I don't know, and I feel good. I mean, I actually feel physically good doing it, and I've got, like I said, there's something kind of where it relieves your mind when you're actually building it. It's a start to finish project, And
you want to come over here
falls down.
You want to have you want some Zen and Buddha come on out here and stack my wood pile. I'll give you a splitter and you could just go to town if you want.
Oh man. Yeah, it was just so much in my life isn't like that. It doesn't have a clear ending or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, it's been cool. It's actually though this was a lot. Like I looked at this and I was like, oh Christ! I mean,
you don't have any room in your basement. That's why I was asking. I'm like, you do laundry down there? Because otherwise it's all wood.
Yeah, we've got some different rooms. It's not like my office where I'm at right now is finished, but nothing is heated down here. So once we get into January, and I'm on the podcast, I'm like layered and layered and layered because it's probably like 60 down here. I mean, there's like nothing, but yeah, I don't know. It's just a typical Wisconsin basement, not the house I grew up in with the bomb shelter and the blast door.
Sure, lying to the elderly, right? Yeah, telling them the Russians are attacking. Sure.
Yeah, just your typical Wisconsin basement. And we're on a hill, so we're at the top, so we don't have any water. But I lit a fire tonight, and the smoke starts to push down in the neighborhood because there's rain coming in. So like the rest of my neighbors are smoked out for like 30 minutes. Like I go outside and I'm like, oh, because I can tell it's not. I don't have enough updraft. So as soon as it comes out, it just goes down into the valley. So like all the neighbors have got to hate me. There's got to be calls to 911.
I'm picturing like this elitist, the king on the hill and then the peasants down below. Oh, well, that's the doctor's house.
The homes are a hell of a lot better down below. Yeah, they get smoked. Well, I went out running one night and I was like, God, who in the hell is burning? And then I get closer to my house. I'm like, oh shit, that's all coming from me. So.
God, I'm gonna die of allergies here in Georgia if these folks don't stop burning their leaves.
Oh, like burning their leaves in garbage, right, Ann?
Yeah, like they've got shit all over their lawn. They've got like rusted beer cans and toys and dead slaves all over the lawn. But they're carefully collecting all the leaves and burning them all just so that there aren't any dead leaves around. I'm like, what is you folks' fetish with cleaning up the damn leaves?
And did you just say dead slaves?
Oh my goodness, Ann.
Yeah, I just stuck that in there.
And this is the clean podcast, of course, too.
Well, anyway, Cowardly the dog sends us £2, and he says, "Thoughts on underwater hamster objectivism, Cappy?"
What?
Oh, you want me to? Oh, you don't know? You didn't hear about it?
No, I don't know. I got my own news stories that have pissed me off. So I mean, what is this going to make me happy or angry?
I'm not sure. Probably just curious and bewildered.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
It was. I don't know if you know anything about Mr. Medicare.
I know of him only because Beckloff talks about him.
Yeah. Anyway, he was doing one of his streams where he was, trolling somebody, and someone sent him a link to a guy that created a hamster enclosure where they put he has an air compressor, and he's powering it with like solar things, and basically the hamsters are underwater, but I mean they're in their own. Help me out here, Ann. They're in their own
aquarium.
Yeah, like they're breathing their own. They're in air, like it's like an aquarium, a miniature aquarium.
Oh, like a terrarium.
Is that what it's called? Okay, yeah.
So.
And I didn't. The guy has a whole website, and apparently it's been going on for years. And Mr. Medicare mentioned this guy, and actually, because someone just linked to it, like they, gave him a super chat. He's going, "What the fuck?" And apparently, it's gone viral since then because Mr. Medicare paid attention to it. He was like, "Holy shit!" And the guy's asking for Patreon money to support his underwater hamster.
Terrarium.
Hang on. I got.
Ben, just let me back up for a second. You guys didn't get my joke. They haven't cleaned their lawn since 1865, but they still got to burn all the leaves.
Ah, okay. Now we got you.
You get it? You get it? You get it? All right. Yeah.
I was just worried when you said the slave thing. I was like, well, that's kind of,
No, I was joking. Like, that's how long it's been since they've cleaned their lawn, except for gathering up and burning all these leaves every time a leaf falls from a tree. They've got to like smoke out the whole neighborhood.
Underwater hamster objectivism. A hamster
chooses... an Ayn Rand.
Hampshire.blogspot.com.
Yeah, that's it.
Preston, I went on vacation recently, leaving a certain roommate in charge of feeding my hamsters. In retrospect, I should not have entrusted him with the task. Nothing good is going to come of trying to have hamsters live below water. I arrived home to find them dead in their cages because he had forgotten about them. Because of this, I have had him evicted. I'll be holding off on buying new hamsters for a while to mourn the loss of George and Scott. They're very old, at least, and live full lives. Still, it's an infuriatingly senseless way for them to die.
That's horrifying.
He's got them under lakes.
What?
What?
Hell?
Yeah. No, it's not. It's
not like in a terrarium. It's like he's got them buried underground.
No. He's got them in lakes. He's going to different sources of water and filming this underwater living. It's like a little submarine for hamsters. I think they're having fun. I just want to know how much money this guy's making. Like, how much did he get on his Patreon? I solve the world's problems of like poverty and, worthless degrees and debt. But, I want to see what this guy is getting. That's his PayPal. Does he have a? All right. So this guy went viral and he's got a GoFundMe account or something.
Yeah, well, apparently on the air, online for a long time, but it's only recently that when Medicare picked him up, because Medicare has this huge cult following,
Yeah. Okay. So why was I supposed to be excited? Why did we go down this rabbit hole here, or this hamster hole?
Probably the dog sent us a super chat of two British pounds.
Oh,
okay. To know your thoughts on it.
Oh, my thoughts on well, I'm not against it because if you look at the underwater hamster objectivism, but why is it called objectivism? What does this have to do with politics?
That's another rabbit hole we don't want to go down.
Oh, well, I mean, okay. Can you give me the Cliff Notes version of it?
I'm not even sure, Aaron. I'm really not. I'm not trying to be flippant. I honestly,
okay.
I'm just horrified by killing these little animals for.
He's not, and he's not torturing them.
Jeepers.
No,
I'm a little bit sensitive because somebody couldn't clean up an apartment. My poor elderly cat has to be transported via airplane twice and might die. So I'm a little bit sensitive about that.
That thing hasn't died yet?
She's a good cat, damn it.
It doesn't matter. Like if she's on life support, how old is your cat?
She's 16 and she's diabetic. And because my new landlord in LA, there was a delay, and so she has to be transported to Georgia and then to LA instead of straight to LA. Oh, by the way, I can tell you where I am.
Hold it. Your cat isn't with you now?
She is with me now.
Oh.
But I couldn't move straight to Georgia. I mean, I couldn't move straight to LA because the apartment that I was supposed to move into was delayed for a month. And so now, this poor cat has to take 2 airplane rides instead of 1 as an elderly diabetic cat. So.
Wait. You're flying your cat? Can't you drive or take a bus or something?
Well, I can't drive, Aaron. I don't know how to drive.
Oh my goodness. I'm getting so old.
Well, no, but even if she could, like driving from Georgia to LA, that's
with a cat, it's worse than the airplane, so. So I'm a little bit PC and hypersensitive about animal torture this week.
Well, this wasn't animal torture. Somebody forgot to, I don't know, feed the hamsters, but the actual underwater hamster cage looks to be purely scientific. If the hamsters live that long and full lives, I'm sure he's, and the guy's mourning it. The guy's upset that that the guy was shirking his duties and not looking over his hamsters. I just think every once in a while I'm kind of bored. I got no more hobbies left. And now here's a guy who is making living apparatuses underwater for hamsters.
Okay, so they didn't die because of the experiment. They died because of neglect.
They died because of neglect. Yeah, probably somebody forgot to feed them.
God damn it.
Yeah. But I still don't know what the point and purpose of having hamsters live underwater is. We got another super chat. Aaron, what do you think of Lil Pump do a Clary test? For $2? No. No. That's $25 minimum. Send a Clary test request to Asshole Consulting. $2. I was on I always get a kick. We do the Elkins hour. And you know, like these are, you assume like, for $3, Chad will tell you, you know, give you the right nudge in the right direction about your accounting career. You got a $5. Okay, he'll help you out with this little question. Here's a 50-cent donation. I have a question about filing between an LLC and an S Corp corporation. Like he's gonna give 3 hours worth of consulting advice for a buck and a half. Oh, God.
Yeah, buddy, you just paid $2 to be told no.
Yes, and he learned. That's everybody learned.
If you try to be too cheap, it gets very expensive very fast.
No, it's not even that. It's like $2. Come on.
But Barbara, if you do have a very simple question, I'm sure we can answer it. But we're not doing the Clary test for $2. You send it 20, and Aaron will do it. You know, he'll dress up like a monkey for $20.
Oh no. Yeah.
I had a guy in the comments section. It's kind of funny because this guy has a hard on for me, and he thinks I'm going bald. And he's just like, oh, I could see you're going bald. You got a bald spot for me. You got a bald. And I'm like, what in God's name are you talking about? I'm not going bald. I'm fine. And so pick on my haircut and anything, you know, oh, did you just wake up? And I bet you didn't even shower. I'm like, yep, didn't even shower. Nope. Don't feel a pang of guilt. And so I like counter trolling him a little bit. So he's mocking the haircut. I say, all right, for $300 to pay me to go to an actual barber, I'll go to a barber for my time and pay him and get a haircut. And he's like,
didn't you have someone, Aaron, that thought you had like some disease, like tuberculosis or something? I mean, seriously, didn't someone post on one of the threads that they thought you weren't looking well and wanted to know? First of all, like, any of their damn business, but I mean, like one person's like, oh my God, yeah.
No, there is it's well, I can understand the tuberculosis because of my cough, but that, once again, going back to 3 years old when I got this massive allergic reaction because I was forced to clean under my bed without a broom. But that's another story for another time. I've always had this cough, so that much I can understand. But you just got to realize that your haters out there are going to go after the most extreme, petty things. And I'm trying to remember because Sandman, who I have a good rapport with. I don't know if you guys ever listen to the YouTube channel Sandman, MGTOW guy.
I don't like him, Aaron.
You don't like him personally, or you don't like his stuff, or what?
I don't like his style. He's very. It's not the MGTOW thing. I don't like. I don't like his presentation. He's really. Yeah,
I feel the same. I've seen a couple of his things, and I was just like, wow, I can't pay attention to this.
Well, he kind of roboticizes his voice so he can remain anonymous. But anyway, I don't have anything against him, and I would consider ourselves colleagues, maybe not friends, but acquaintances. And I tune into his stuff every once in a while. But someone paid him to do a video on me, and you can pretty much get away with anything you want with me because as long as you're honest. And Sandman did this critique, but there was something about where either they thought I was gay or how I must try to live with myself and I must be conflicted on the inside and all this long shot speculation and, oh, he might have this disease or maybe he's suffering from that mental disorder. And after a while, you got to look and say, okay, this is for my benefit. This is for my entertainment. You know, the people out there when I present something that they disagree with and I prove I'm right and they're wrong, they got to come up with anything. So they grasp for straws and they come up with the weirdest freaking shit. Like, oh, I think he's got that melanin disorder where he doesn't get enough melanin. He doesn't tan right. And it must be affecting his brain or something.
Yeah, I think I've been diagnosed with every mental disorder there is, sometimes by people who aren't even psychiatrists.
Wasn't that most people who do that?
Yeah, that was a joke.
I mean, who really has actually been diagnosed by a psychiatrist? How many people actually really go to real psychiatrists, you know?
Oh, God, I haven't been to a psychologist. I went to a psychologist when I was 5.
No, a psychologist. No, yeah, a psychologist maybe, but psychiatrist actually going to a real psychiatrist is rare. A psychologist is any schmuck who got a degree in psychology.
Okay, what's the the psychiatrist is an actual medical doctor, right?
Yeah, they're the ones that talk to you for like 5 minutes and then jam pills down your throat. Psychologists are the ones that sit there and talk to you about your childhood.
Right, but psychiatrists, well, Ann's right about that. But in fairness, psychiatrists actually had to go to med school and do a residency and, you know, all that kind of stuff, like real training, you know.
Right, right.
The psychologist is anybody that got like a BA in psychology and they could hang a shingle out.
Right.
I was listening to the Great One podcast, which, forewarning, it's not for everybody. It's very harsh. But he was going through, you know what? I can pull it up here because this person deserves to be not outed, but she's an example of, what is it? It's CAPPA. National, and it was something else about, she was writing an article, but then he found her at this thing, Kappa, nationalkappa.org, Campus Advocacy and Prevention Professionals Association. So you go into this site and it's just basically a pablum of gibberish and nonsense of basically give us money so violence doesn't happen on campuses. And so if I could find about Kappa, mission statement, leadership.
Does the safety doc have anything to say about that?
Well, I actually do. Anyway, I had to complete.
This is being recorded, and you got a professional career. So
yeah, I'm just saying, I had to complete this week the Clery Act overview through the university that I work with. So CLERY Act overview, and the intention was this came out of a murder of a college female who had been stalked, and while the training itself is very thorough, like I just think over the years they've added more and more and more to it. And for example, you can go to university at any time and obtain reports on sexual assault and things like that that have occurred on campus, violence. But actually, I don't think anybody does that. So I think this has gotten to be so convoluted that it's actually kind of unraveled its purpose. No one's gone back and is eventually you got to just make sure you're simplifying things so people can access it. In this training, when I first took it a few years ago, might have been 10 or 15 minutes. And, this was a good 40 minutes. It's all presented online, and then there's quiz questions afterwards. But I think the point is the initially when this came out, but it's required. All university faculty have to take this and pass this. But it's gotten, again, so many layers added to it, and for students, that it's lost its original value.
David, is this yet another of those school safety things that's based on an insufficient amount of data and faith?
It's hard to say. I mean, don't
put him on the spot here, because if he says something bad about the test, he's got to.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything. Right, and I appreciate that, John. I think I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I think it's becoming very complicated. It's where even for an incoming freshman to try to access this data and to be informed, it's become real cumbersome. I mean, and it just keeps growing. That's the thing with any of these initiatives, and I see this in school safety too. Like they just add more layers and more layers. And I just looked at a school safety plan that was 87 pages long for like an evacuation. 87 pages. It was just released by a district that I work with, and I'm like, whoa, like this should be like 12 pages. Here's another district that just did theirs, but everyone kind of they think more is better, and they try to be more comprehensive, and by that you just, it doesn't work, it just doesn't function. It's just car manual. I mean, what if we got a car manual? Here's your car, and by the way, the manual is 455 pages long, volume 1.
I hate to sound so cynical, but it's basically the rule or the law that charities are not for their intended purpose. They're there to enrich the people who participate in the charity. And that's where I was going with this kappa.org. But I would say any kind of safety thing, once you start laying on layers and things that are complicated, and then you need to hire contractors and professionals to put this together, and then they know buddies. This is just a money-making operation. And that's where I was going originally with this national kappa.org. I couldn't find the woman. But getting back to the original point, is this gal, you read through it, mental, absolutely mental. No real world working experience, never set foot in the real world, is so untethered, never even tethered in the first place, never even visited the real world. But now she's going to go and get her degree in counseling. And that's what I was trying to get at and ask is a psychiatrist, if you go to grad or med school, you can't fake that. There's some legitimacy there. But the hell, if I'm going to go talk to a psychologist or a counselor, these people are fucked. They're fucked in the head. And I don't believe for a second they give a damn about their clientele, or in the nonprofit case, who we're going to help out charity-wise or victims or anything like that. This is purely a money-making operation. And not to accuse Doc of being in that world, but I'm sure he's gone through or visited industries where the original mission statement has either been achieved, or it's been achieved so long ago that to look like they're busy doing something, they just add on all this unnecessary complexity and layers of bureaucratic bullshit, of which you can hide jobs and assistant reserve directors and deputy assistants, and just put a bunch of pork in it to employ otherwise unemployable people.
Yeah.
Can I speak to, sorry to change channels, but, Doc and I, we have a similar background in security and safety. But regarding like the stalking thing that you mentioned, one of the challenges I have with people making it overly cumbersome is like they take these courses they take all the utility out of it. Like, what is the useful information? Because back I worked as a security consultant and a private investigator, and I would have to deal with women that were, being stalked, and have to deal with them and do threat assessments and understand there's instead of like trying to psychoanalyze for 80 pages about what is this, you have to be able to give practical advice to the victim or the client that you have, instead of going into all this laborious nonsense about it. So like what actual practical steps do you do, and what is overkill and what is not? And that is what's being lost now. So it gets to the point where they're just droning on and on and on, but there's no real, where's the beef kind of a thing, and all this fluff and all these writings. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I absolutely, know what you mean. Nothing as even, walk during the daytime, walk with people. If you're going to go between a distance, call a campus. I think, Aaron, you worked in helping people get around campus.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that type of thing.
624 walk. Yep. You dialed the number 624 walk, and we go walk to your car.
So one of the things in this training, nothing like that was covered. I mean, it was more about, here's why the act is in place. And then also, here are the people you can report to on campus if you have concerns, and it listed, person after person, people I've never even heard of. So, I mean, all of those things were covered, but you're right. Any practical, if like on campus, we have this service, and then also if you are receiving, threatening emails or someone who's showing up outside, ex-boyfriend or girlfriend outside of your residence. Here's what to do. That type of stuff, you're right, John, is lost. And there should actually be a class. I mean, I don't want to add it like a class, but I'm saying even like a practical knowledge class where people understand if they're being stalked on social media or if they are being, just physical environment how to stay safe. There would be so much value in that. I mean, you could get that down within, one day and just help people out so much. But yeah, it's really, and as Aaron said, I mean, truly, it is the Title IX departments at universities, like down at UW-Madison, that have just become their own building. I mean, there are so many layers and so many layers, and it is all tied up in the bureaucracy and not in the practical knowledge.
Well, see, not to sound horrible, but I truly believe this. And you wonder why I'm cynical. I hate people would rather have people get raped and assaulted because that keeps them employed.
Oh yeah.
I'm totally certain. And if people aren't getting raped, like not to brag, but we did a damn good job at the U of M Police Department. The campus was very safe. A lot of that was the security team we belonged to, walking girls home late at night, commonsensical stuff. But damn it, if the Feminist Women's Studies Department didn't come out and, oh my God, there's a rapist behind every bush and there's a crisis and you gotta da-da-da. It's like, well, call 624. No, come to the Rape Prevention Center. It's like, how is that going to the Rape Prevention Center going to be any help you out at all than going to maybe the police department? We'd have like safety brochures, calling the 624 walk. Like you guys were saying, Doc and John, here are practical measures you could take. Gosh, I even think during freshman orientation, maybe one of the lieutenants went in and said, hey, we got this 624 walk program. Please be aware. That's actual practical.
Exactly. You got it, Aaron. That type of thing is what's needed.
Yeah, well, if you're in Chicago and you actually get assaulted and the police won't do anything about it, even though you're paying 10% sales tax, sometimes you just have to physically leave.
Yeah, but this gets to the point where, again, I always like to push the argument and our discussions, not our particular discussions, but any discussion on politics beyond the, geez, why is there so much bureaucracy? Or why don't women get it that they should major in STEM? When it's like, no, you don't understand it. They know exactly what they're doing. It's a playing dumb so they can make more money. And a perfect example, again, to highlight the great one himself, you can go visit his site, sinlibsoc.com. Don't tell you I didn't warn you, but I enjoy it. He was reading an article at the Colorado Collegian. It's the local college newspaper where incompetent nobodies who will never achieve or amount to anything in journalism go and write for the school newspaper. And one of the female journalists, quote, heavy air quotes, was talking about how two young gentlemen, or maybe it was four guys, engineering majors, they came up with a way, there was a chemical reaction where a woman, it was very clever. I think it was the lipstick, where there was a chemical in a woman's lipstick that if she took a sip with her drink, she didn't even have to take a sip. She would just have to dip her lips in it. And if the lipstick colored or the side, the rim of their drink turned a different color, that mean that had been laced with Spanish fly or some other kind of sedative. Right. And you would think, wow, here's a very practical thing to help women not get taken advantage of, not get drugged, not get dragged out. Like, this is a very clever, and these four guys. Now, take a wild guess. Do you think the female journalist was for or against this?
You're telling me she was against it?
I'm telling you she was against it. Now try to guess why. I know we know the reason why, because this would actually solve the problem, and then there'd be no reason to complain anymore or get more government funding. But try to guess the logic or the reasoning why this was bad.
Well, women shouldn't have to defend themselves. We should just be teaching men not to rape.
You nailed it. Men, we're not focusing on what really, we should teach men not to rape. And in case you didn't know, rape is bad. Okay. All right. You don't rape. Now, and let me finish. Whether or not the 3% of psychopaths know that, or you could ever get through to them, I don't know. But what was astounding and very clear to me was that this woman was in cahoots with, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Big feminism, big education, big victim. We could call it big victim industry, where they didn't want to actually lessen the number of rapes or assaults, that they didn't actually want to protect women. They wanted this victim thing to continue on and to handicap and tie both men and women's arms behind their back to prevent rape and prevent sexual assault with this very clever idea. And instead, what are we going to, we need to teach men not to rape. Well, how do we do that? Let me guess. We're going to have to hire some more women's studies professors to go do outreach campaigns and raise awareness, and it's all going to come off the taxpayers' back. And that's where I just loathe and detest the Democrats and the left, because this is primarily where it's coming from, where they have no intention of helping it, fill in the blank, women, minorities, blacks, Hispanics, transgender, whatever. They have no intention. They only care to profit off of these people and not even solve that. Especially, look, if you're a minority, unfortunately, you're going to face poverty. But if you're a woman, it's fucking rape. It's fucking sexual assault. And feminists, the biggest hypocrites out there, would rather send innocent women out to get raped more because it's good for business.
Yeah, actually, I am familiar with that story, Aaron. And if I remember correctly, it was actually nail polish, not lipstick.
Nail polish.
Where they could dip it in the drink and it would change color. And that would tell whether they, I think it was GHB, or what they used to call it, the date rape drug. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. And you're absolutely right. They for initially, these guys were hailed as like, oh, that's a brilliant and genius idea. But then, like you said, these women needed something else to be outraged about, because, they don't want it, and that's kind of the problem that I have, and I'm not really in that business anymore. I mean, David still is, but, I always had this very, I call it utilitarian view of things. Like, okay, don't give me the fluff. Just, how do I fix this? And that's how I always, when I was dealing with my clients, I would, deal with the threat. I would try to understand, what his motivation is, who he is. I would, get a background on the guy. And then there's basic things you could do. Like you could tell, one of the things you would do is whether or not he would escalate. And I guess you can figure out what that meant by that. And like a simple thing, like back in the day before everybody had cell phones, one of the things that one of these things that stalkers used to do would be like, keep calling the girl's phone number and hanging up, or, calling her at all hours and things like that. And everybody would say, oh, just change your number. And I would always say, no, don't do that. Because if you change the number, that means that the guy's getting the affect he wants. He's getting you to react to him. Mm-hmm. So I would say, no, you don't change the number, because then people would get an unlisted number. And I worked as a PI too, so I used to be able to crack unlisted phone numbers. And these sick fucks would actually hire, I wouldn't do it, but they would hire other people to find what the unlisted number is, and then call that. I'd say, no, keep that number, but just have it either hook it up to an answering machine and like screen your calls, or you get an additional number, a second number that you only give out to your close friends, but you don't tell anybody. So as far as this fuck still knows, you still have that same number and you haven't reacted to them. Mm-hmm. And then eventually they go away. And then you'd be surprised how easy that was, how many times that simple step worked.
See, I just want to, I commend you, John, for sharing that. And that's what we need. That type of practical wisdom. And, it's just lost. Oh my God, it is so lost in, just the safety world in general. Most of the stuff I get asked to consult on, I'm like, oh my God, you got to be kidding. It's just crazy. It's just crazy, insane stuff. And things that, just with a little practical wisdom, in 5 minutes you could resolve. That's honestly where people are at. But yeah, what you said, John, that's excellent. But who hears that? Who on campus, for example, hears that? And maybe it's not even, like it's a boyfriend or girlfriend, but it could be, some relative, or if it's, you're trying to keep a number, that someone's been going after you on, payments or something like that. I'm just saying, you've just given great advice. And I'm going to use that, if you don't mind. That's something I'm going to write down here and carry forward, but nobody hears that. Nobody hears it.
Doc, let me ask you this. I mean, you're in the field, you're in the profession, and you're in this, you've peered, but you're on the other side of the curtain. I'll never be allowed because they'll identify me in half a second and send the hounds after me. But I imagine there's got to be some instances where you have a clear, obvious answer and you get in there and they're either so used to the bureaucrat speak. I mean, isn't that frustrating or drive you nuts?
Let me give you an example. At a meeting, I was hired by a district a few years ago. Came into this meeting and they had like 20 people they brought in, and they were trying to come up with the language in their safety, I don't know, handbook or guide or whatever the hell they were going to put up by a door, but it was like the staff wanted to know under what conditions they could fight back if there was an intruder with a gun, which probably isn't going to happen anyway. But 3 hours into this meeting, okay, staff are like, well, no, what we want to, like, what is the exact word? Like, so if they touch me, but like, if they touch me, like they push me, or like if they have the gun, then I can, because like they didn't want to be, they're so terrified of like, I'm going to be sued. The district's not going to have my back. Or what if this person, like, you know, if I haul out my gun and kill them and they weren't intending to kill. I mean, it was so, I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I didn't even expect this would be an issue. I thought we would fly by this. I took the superintendent out in the hallway and I said, dude, there's nothing I can do here. I'm like, I'm not goddamn magic, man. I'm like, I'm not going to charge you for this day. I'm like, first of all, this group is way too big. And he's like, yeah, I know this is really embarrassing. I'm like, you've got a lot of work to do here. But literally people were saying, I want permission to defend myself, and I'm not going to defend myself. I would take the bullet, because then at least I know the district is not going to say, oh, like you hit someone that came in with a gun and you broke their arm and now they're suing the district because you broke their, I mean, it's just this type of stuff. I'm like, you got to be kidding. This is where we're at. That type of logic that people get entrenched in. I mean, those are the exact scenarios that people are playing out.
I get a kick out of it. Like they think they're going to have time. Like, oh, it's scripted. Let me consult my outline and the flow chart. Oh, he has a gun, but he hasn't pulled the trigger. I'm allowed to do A, B, and C.
Right. Can I throw the stapler? And what if I hit? I mean, what if I damage the teeth? I mean, I'm like, oh my God, are you? I am not embellishing the story at all. And I just would go back to, if you feel that your life or the lives of your students is at risk, you have the right to use whatever means you want for self-defense right there. But I mean, it was all of these nitpicking scenarios like, yeah, you know, well, if I throw this, or if I throw this, or what if I throw, you know, or this, or can I try to trip him, or what if I kick? I mean, I'm like, screw it. I can't deal with this. Is unfixable. It's unfixable.
Oh, yeah, no. After a while, you have self-respect, and you're not going to bang your head against.
Yeah, I walked out and I didn't charge, and I just tactfully, you know, left a room, and you know, I don't, you know, but it was sad. I mean, it was so sad to see people. Just the common sense was gone. You couldn't find common. You could say, I'll give the next person $100 bill to throw one thing out that makes a little bit of common sense. Nobody could even like throw the dart where it would get anywhere on the wall where the board is.
Is this kind of what your book is about? Because I know you said you had the book, it's finished, but it's off to the publisher or something now. It's at stage 47 to 49
right now. Working with my editor right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
the book is done, but it is being trimmed to the specifications of the publisher. But no, it doesn't get into that so much as into the psychology behind the 9/11 harbor rescue, 500,000 people. So it doesn't go there. And honestly, like if you were to write stuff like, well, it has little pieces, but people wouldn't read it. Like parents want fortification. That's what they want. They want to see bollards in front of schools and bulletproof glass and, you know, layered entries and stuff like that. But and teachers don't want any common sense.
Would you get fired if you recommended people just homeschool their kids and that the public schools aren't needed anyway? Would that be a not to? Or
the thing is, you know, I don't do much with this anymore. The only thing I really work on is reporting systems. If there is, like a threat to harm to self or others. So I help with the reporting systems and make sure people have just got their induction stuff done. That's almost all that I do right now is just making sure you have your trainings done. And then I do the expert witness. So I've kind of got out of the stuff where I'm doing any type of safety training, because that's a circus right now. I mean, that's a $3 billion industry. I had somebody like me was following me on Twitter, and then they were trying to get me to endorse this insane product that they had, and then they were kind of like making these posts like they were aligning with some things that I was saying. And I'm like, dude, like your product's insane. Like I wouldn't back this thing, through just like a direct message. So don't like tie me in that I'm pseudo affiliated with this, because this is nuts, man. But no, I don't do it because it doesn't make sense. That ship has sailed. It's so far gone.
Well, when David was kind enough to have me on his channel, like we talked about some of this stuff, like the ridiculousness of it. Like, for example, they are people actually selling schools bulletproof whiteboards.
Yeah.
To double as a bulletproof shield. And David, you were talking about how parents and teachers or whatever, they want to see like these visual representations of security, but they don't actually. That doesn't mean that they create security by any sense of the word. Like, do you remember the example we were talking about the football game? You said, well, if someone, like schools are always worried about these mass shootings, and you said, well, what about a football game? Right. That would be, look, like, remember the joke we used about all the trees, on the sidelines from the football, the forest right next to the football field.
Which is, in Wisconsin, it's half of all the football fields in the high schools. Yeah. They butt up against the forest. Yeah.
Right. So if anyone wanted to, I used a joke about the Germans in World War II. They went right around the Maginot Line, through the Ardennes, the forest. It's the same thing. It's like the illusion of safety.
The other thing, and I did include this in the book. So the bollards. So the bollards are they come out of the concrete, so you can't drive a car up and crash into a building, or up on a bike path or something like that. But actually, the studies have shown that these things kill more bicyclists than a year in Maine. I mean, it's ridiculous. I think it was the state of Iowa. Like, I pulled out a study, and I mean, it was like 3 people on one trail were killed, and like 2 were during the day. They said it's really hard to. They put these things so damn close together. You like gotta almost time it perfectly with your bike, and then of course at night. But literally, like, people, if you Google this, first of all, the number of deaths prevented by bollards is virtually 0. I mean,
well, isn't that hard? Not to get technical, but isn't that kind of hard because they prevent someone from driving something up to destroy something?
Well, yeah, right. But that's not how this works, though. Like,
all right, never mind.
In the front, no one is driving through the front doors. And even in like Europe, they're just driving like, mopeds and motorcycles weaving in and out of these. And everybody has to walk outside the bollards. But the fact is, if you took the number of deaths and maiming that are caused by, to bicyclists, it just completely is so much substantially more than what these things are preventing. And bicyclists are like, it's just dangerous as hell right now. So, I mean, like, people that are experienced, they're going out and they're like, and they judge, try to judge shooting the gap on these things without killing yourself.
Yeah, but my question is this, like, bicyclists aren't human, right? Those cyclists don't really count as human, especially those long distance ones, right?
I don't know. Are you on the left?
I'm joking, Doc. I'm joking because you're a cyclist.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I mean, no, Christ, I went through this on my bike. I went, and I'm like, yeah, just, really super hyper paying attention and stuff like that. And, glad that I cleared it. But it's one of these things, again, where this hypothetical solution that people can see creates a whole other layer of problems that wouldn't have existed. And then like in Wisconsin, when they put these things up in front of schools, sounds like a good idea, or maybe, I don't know, if to some people it sounds like a good idea, I guess. And then winter hits and you can't shovel around the goddamn things, and snow blows, and then you get ice, and then they cast a shadow, so that area gets ice. So the bell rings and 300 kids get out of school and they walk just, right on a goddamn skating rink and they're all flying around. And I mean, it's so stupid. And that's exactly what it is.
Don't worry, Doc, don't worry. I'm sure all the student councils and public administrators and the school systems, they have the right people in charge with their public administration degrees. They know exactly what they're doing. They'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. I'm sure it'll all be fine.
Yeah, I don't think the students are asking for this, but yeah, it's I don't even want to get there.
You're gonna Ann, you were gonna say something, Ann. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What were you gonna say, Ann?
It was a while ago. I forgot.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I'm sure you've had a new thought since then. I've heard you have more than one in an hour. So,
well, I'm the editor that the Safety Doc has been referring to, and yeah, I'm pretty intimately familiar by now with the silly bureaucratic redundancy of as I was kind of prodding him for before, the part of the book that I'm kind of hammering away at now is schools will take very small sets of data and try to use them to generalize them to a solution to try and make the public happy and spend a lot of money, because we see stories on the news about a school shooting occurring, but as we're trying to express via the book, happily, there are few enough school shootings that there's not really enough data
Thank God.
Yeah, there's not really enough data to generalize the best way to stop a school shooting, but schools are spending money as though they had enough data anyway.
Simply because it's so not sensationalized. I mean, it makes the news, obviously, and then that's at the forefront of every soccer mom.
Yeah, and then they have to do something to make the moms happy. So, if they can turn a buck for their friends who have a consulting company or a bollard company, so much the better.
The big bollard industry. This is great.
Yeah, and invest in that. If you want to know where to put your money, don't put it in Bitcoin. Put it in those building
big bollard or underwater hamsters.
All right, yeah, that's another thing.
Would any of this be solved, like the public school shootings, if like the mom stayed married and there was a father around, or am I just being crazy
No,
now?
that's craziness.
That's crazy shit. I'm sure Elliot Rogers was a perfectly well-balanced kid. I'm sure.
Yeah. That's just nonsense. It has nothing to do with what's going on in their home life and their parents and the individual situation with the children. That has nothing to do with it.
No. Or the fact that they have to wear a brown plaid shirt from 1977.
Yeah, how many kids has thought about killing, but something stopped them?
Look, you're a liar if you say, "Oh, I've never thought about going into school and bumping off all the assholes." Well, yeah, I mean, I do that. Forget school; it doesn't even have to be school; it could be the street. But I mean, yeah, there's this little devil or shoulder angel that kind of kicks in and says, maybe you don't want to do that, and you probably go to jail. And how do you know they're really guilty? And can't you let it? I mean, there's a voice of reason that comes in there. But yeah, there's times where it's like, I haven't gotten a lot of target practice on moving objects with my AR-15. I wonder, what if some people would be surprised if I showed up at the 20-year anniversary of my high school reunion?
Andy Nowicki wrote a book about that, by the way.
Who?
Andy Nowicki, a mutual friend of Ann and I.
Yeah, I saw him just last week.
That's right. He lives. Oh, that's right. He's lives in that area. And anyway, I just want to plug his book because I really like Andy's work. I know him personally because I've interviewed.
It's called The Columbine Pilgrim. The particular.
Yeah, and you've read it, right?
Yeah.
It was a great book, and it's based on a guy that actually became obsessed with the Columbine incident. It was in 2000. And ends up going back to his high school reunion. And I don't want to give away what happens, but it's Anne read it, and it's a really short read. It's more of a novella than a novel. I know Aaron doesn't read, and I'm sorry, I don't think it's an audio format. But
yeah,
for those out there who do read, I want to plug Andy's book. So I think he's a good guy and he's a great writer.
For some reason, and maybe this is the new source of income for me, I've had 4 people now asked me to review a book. It's like I couldn't escape the 4th grade. I'm still getting hunted down to do book reports. And well, this time I get paid, and I'm like,
you did book reports in the 4th grade?
Yeah, didn't you do book reports in the 4th grade?
No.
I mean, this wasn't War and Peace we were reading, but you know,
I went to good schools and I did like a lot of book reports, but I don't think I did any in the 4th grade. But
well, anyway, our teachers are Nazis, and they made us read very boring books instead of let us go outside and play because reasons. So that short thing. Now I think I've escaped it, and for whatever reason, the past 2 weeks, I've had like 4 or 5 people say, "Hey, could you?" Because I reviewed that the crazy guy, the Unabomber's manifesto. So then that triggered 4 other people. Hey, what about this? What about that? And I'm like, look, I'm like, this is 183 pages. Are you nuts? Do you know how long it's going to take me to read this book? And so I'm quoting them prices. And what's great is for the most part, they don't pay it because it's very expensive. But then when these fuckers do pay, it's like, shit, now I got to read this book. And they're not even an audiobook. They're all giving me books where there's no audiobooks. I have to like sit and not go anywhere and read books.
Well, Aaron, can I ask you a serious question?
Yes.
Yeah. How did you graduate college?
Dude, it was forced and painful reading. It was, I didn't say I didn't read books. I didn't like reading books, but if it was necessary, I would read the books.
But you know what, John? Speaking as someone who really likes sitting down and like reading good novels, like an adventure book, it seems like everybody has less and less time to actually sit down and read books, even if they really like to and want to. You know, like despite my best intentions, I wind up going, hey, I guess I'm going to listen to a podcast because I have a choice between sitting and reading a book or going for a walk today so my head doesn't explode.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Anne. I appreciate you being correct and seeing the wisdom. Now, would you listen to an audio book over sitting down and reading a physical book?
Often these days, yes.
Okay. All right. There you go. Just want to make sure I'm right. Because when Ann Sturzinger agrees with you, you know you're right. Because there's nothing off with her whatsoever.
Yeah, she gives great investment advice as well.
Yes,
and fashion advice. Wear pinstripe suits.
Yeah, I actually would pay $5 to see you in that suit.
It's sharp, man.
No, I don't know. Maybe I'm a fucking freak, but I actually do enjoy reading. Well, as you know. But
I love reading. It's just you have to make choices, and it seems like people have less and less and less time.
Well, and keep in mind, here's
forever to listen to. No, don't get me wrong. I have listened to some audiobooks, and it's usually because like I'm multitasking kind of a thing. But the amount of time it takes to listen to a book is like at times the amount of time it takes to read a book.
That's true.
I mean, you're talking about time, right? I mean, that's a trade-off right there. You know?
Yeah.
But you can accelerate and read at 1.5 or 2 times the speed.
This is also true.
And you can also be doing something else. Like right now, when I go to Vegas, I got to drive my truck because I need a vehicle down in Vegas. And so I somewhat look forward to just downloading a ton of podcasts. Hopefully Doc's book will be out because that's one of the few books I quote want to read. But it's nice just to sit. But the reason I was going to point out why I think people read less, especially as our age, is as we get older, there's less and less that's new under the sun. Now, Doc's book is going to be something different and interesting because it's new. So I'm probably going to listen to that. Podcasts, you're pushing the boundaries of philosophy and thought or whatever its respective field is. Like I listen to a lot of podcasts on astronomy because new things are being discovered. Right. But I don't need to read what is it? The Adventures of Huck Finn. I don't need to read To Kill a Mockingbird because these lessons have been done a million times. Not to mention you were forced to read them in the 4th or 5th grade.
Yeah,
reading novels is supposed to be fun. Like that's where English teachers screwed everything up. They decided that certain books are important and you have to read them for the lesson. No, fiction is supposed to be fun.
Oh my God.
Something you do for shits and giggles.
You remind me of the librarians. Like in my town, you walk past the library, not shitting you. It's like summer fun library days. I'm like, that is not fucking possible. It cannot be fun and summer and in the library. It is you cannot have fun at the library during summer. No kid is going to fall for that propaganda.
Well, nobody wants to sit at the library, but stories are fun. Like listening to a good story is fun.
Well, I'll tell you,
a good story is fun. Like people like stories.
This one story that I took in, It's a story of this big purple guy who's going after a gauntlet with some stones. And then there's this guy called Iron Man. And then there's this other guy called Captain America. And then there's Thor and all the. Oh, wait, it's called a movie. I didn't have to read. Oh, that was great. Okay, never mind. All right. Speaking of books, we got sponsors. I'm going to bang them out real quick. Even though I said no sponsors, I have them written down here. We have The Great Emu War. That's something I might actually read, because it's about Australia fighting an emu, like an invasive species, and how Australia lost. Which I don't know how you lose against an emu.
Yeah,
but they did.
You got to read the book to find out.
You got to read the book to find out. So I hope the emu. I'm cheering for the emus in that one. No offense to the Australians, but I'm cheering for the emus on that. We have a blog called The Quintessentialist.blogspot.com. He's also the author of The Great Emu War. We have OrionsColdFire.com. If you want to check that out, go ahead. And he has posts, but more importantly, he has some very good photography. So if you want to break from reading or looking at political crap, you could go take a look at some pretty pictures and go, oh. AlaskaChaga.us if you are looking to buy some tea made of mushroom tea, and not the fun mushrooms, the mushrooms that has a little bit less caffeine, is healthier presumably for you than coffee. Go to AlaskaChaga.us, order your tea there. All money, all proceeds go to conservative owners, Republican owners, not touchy-feely, hippy-dippy.
Sorry to interrupt, but I drink tea. Have you tasted it? Is that any good?
I don't know. What? Order it. Report back. Let us know what it's like.
All right. Well, no, I might, because I actually do drink tea, but I was just curious. Keep going.
Yeah, I've had to take in some green tea to lower cholesterol, because apparently it lowers cholesterol. And then more recently, I have The Pence Principle, which is one of those books that I got paid to read through. Thankfully, it's a short book. But this is, what is the subtitle? It's Lessons Men Must Learn from Ford Kavanaugh. And basically, it's a short read, but it's very good. And it's basically everything you boys have to do to inoculate yourself to prevent something like what happened to Kavanaugh happening for you. So preventing rape, false rape accusations, preventing false sexual assault accusations.
You mean Brett Kavanaugh?
Brett Kavanaugh, yeah. What did I say?
Ford was the accuser.
Ford's the accuser, yeah, but the subtitle's Ford Kavanaugh, like it wasn't just Kavanaugh having fun drinking beer at the age of 18. It was some delusional grade A Kuantahaha deciding that she didn't want him to go to the Supreme Court. But it is a fire and brimstone ripping apart of the likes of Christine Ford and that. But anyway, that Pence Principle, paperback and Kindle. Same thing with The Great Emu War. And the other two are websites. And then hopefully I'll get paid to read another book here. But that's down the road.
We got a super chat.
Sure. What is it?
Tactical Mail Cop sends $5. Thank you. $5 US. I once had a professor give me shit for listening to Plato's Republic on audio instead of reading his handout.
Well, was it a baby boomer professor?
yeah. Well, probably.
What are blind people supposed to do? Is it all right if he took it in through Braille? How does it matter that you get the wisdom?
Right. You're right, Aaron.
Well, I wonder about some of these professors. Well, I don't. They're all crazy. They're all
false. No, I want to be clear. I have nothing against audiobooks, but I mean, there are something. All right, let me give you a thing that bothers me, and this is just me being an old man. But I remember, like, when I was going to work back in New York City, you know, I used to ride the A train. Those who live in New York know this. I used to 207th Street stop all the way down to Broadway, Nassau, and Wall Street, and almost everybody used to have a book. We used to sit down, and I'm not saying it wasn't Plato's Republic or, you know, the Odyssey of the Iliad or some shit like that. It was like Tom Clancy or, you know, whatever. But everybody had a book. Everybody read. Now you look at the subway in New York. Everybody's fucking dicking around with their fucking iPhone or whatever, and, you know, I don't know, taking selfies on the way to work. And you see this shit, right? You lived in Chicago and you had to take the L every day to work, so you saw that fucking nonsense. But you're probably old enough to remember when people read books when they went to work.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and that was good. Like, you had your book. Like, leave me alone, I'm reading my book. You had your little fucking paperback. You know, remember the paperback books? They even still make those anymore? I don't know. And
yeah, you know, I got to apologize to Aaron for whatever douchebag librarian or English teacher ruined this kind of fun for him forever. Like, he's just so cynical about it. He can't enjoy it. He's got to have a movie. And I mean, what did she do to you?
No, it's not she. It was a group of she's. Every English teacher, they pick boring books. It'd be a beautiful day outside. And and honestly, I don't have an interest in reading. I don't. Now, and the other thing is also, I don't know if you guys noticed this, I'm very impatient. I don't
never noticed that.
I don't have time to sit there and for you to get to the point. Oh, you mean the meaning of life is love. Oh, I'm glad I wasted 20 hours reading 800 pages to get to that in The Great Frickin' Gatsby or whatever movie it was. So the movies just do a lot better for me. And it's just because, I don't know, I'd rather be outside and playing and all that. Now, yes, a lot of it was English teachers who were just miserable women, just miserable, choosing boring books. A lot of it was going to parochial school where we had to read the Bible over and over and over. By the way, did you know that, not to ruin it for you, I don't want to ruin this book for you guys. Some of you may have heard of this book called Exodus. Now, I don't want to give away the ending, but the Jews escape. Okay? No matter how many times you read that fucking book, the Jews always escape. It's not like a living, breathing document like the Constitution. Well, maybe they don't escape. Every freaking time that Red Sea parts, they make it through. Pharaoh, a little bit too slow, didn't catch up to the Jews. They always make it in the end. Well, how many freaking times do I have to read? And so it was... And after a while, especially when you're in these formative years and your brain is forming, you develop this distaste and hatred that doesn't go away. Same thing with not wanting to have kids. I made a very, going back to 3 years old, John and Christmas, to bring up that happy story again. I realized that with my brother and sister around, there'd be a lot more money for toys for me if they weren't there. Maybe I wouldn't have my fucking Velcro shoes from Walmart if they weren't there. And I think I'm a big believer in epigenetics, that it's beaten out of you. So things that would normally be fun or you guys take for happiness because maybe you had positive, I did not have positive. And it's not like I'm missing or ruining or lamenting or hoping to go read sometime. It's just, I want nothing to, because there's so much other fun stuff I'd rather be doing.
Yeah, kind of like my mom saw that if I weren't there, she'd have more clothes.
Well, yeah, that's all. We're just mouths. But see, the difference is I didn't control whether my brother or sister were born into the world.
This is true.
Yeah,
true.
I control whether
that rat poisoning thing you did on their dinner on Thanksgiving. That didn't work out.
You tried to have control, but the guy who sold you the rat poison was kind of a shyster.
God darn it. I got that low-grade rat poison. All it did was make my brother throw up. It came back stronger than ever. God darn it.
Well, I guess the thing is about, don't get me wrong, I love movies, by the way. It's just, there's so few good movies. So, like, I can't stand any of, like, all these superhero movies. Because our mutual, I think, with the exception of David, I think we're all friends with, like, Beckloff and stuff like that.
Still yet, until he says something about if he says something about Episcopalian Lutheran Pentecostals, that's it. I'm done with that fucker.
You see, the problem with movies and the reason why...
Let John finish his original thought.
All right.
No, I was just going to say that I love film, but there's such few good films out there. And in this way, Aaron and I have a lot in common. Like, for example, we both love the film Casablanca, and we can quote all the lines from it. I love, like, a lot of that old stuff. You know what I mean? But as far as, like, new film that comes out or anything of that medium, television, stuff like that, I'm very, very selective. So, like, I like one out of every 500 things that's produced. Anyway, Ann, I'm sorry. You go ahead.
I was just saying that one thing that it kind of surprises me, and we're going back to the shitty treatment by his school English teachers. But the one thing that books have over movies is that they're not made by committee. And John, I think part of the reason that you and I are sometimes disappointed by movies is because they're made by committee, and 50 different people get to have a say as to what happens in the final scene, as to where a book is like an author and maybe an editor make the decision.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, and I think there's kind of almost an intimacy that's created between the reader and the author and reading. I don't mean like a sexual intimacy, but I mean like a connection, and that's why I really liked it these new like authors like yourself that are not published by some big publishing house that's going to spend $1 million pushing your book and putting you on talk shows to promote it, is that when you can read their book and you can actually find them on social media and ask them questions like, what did you mean when you did this or did that and stuff like that. I picked your mind a few times about Lester, or or Andy, in his books and stuff like that. And I like that kind of shit. You know what I mean? But maybe I'm a weirdo. Well, I am a weirdo, but
Well, we knew that, but even if you could get access to the people who made a movie, you'd have to pick 50 different people's brains to find out like why, Iron Man ended that way, because 50 different people had to have a say in the project.
Right.
Yeah. Plus, they had like 5 different writers. Like you hear about these movies, like they've gone through like 5 different writers, and they test screened it, and they had to change it because this offended this group, or I'm sure Aaron could talk about that, right? This particular group was offended, so we had to cut that out.
Yeah, and we created 5 different meaningless jobs just around one scene. Like,
yeah, we had to put a transsexual character story arc in there to
Any of you guys see the third Iron Man?
No.
Called "Please Let Me Have My Balls Back." That was the subtitle, but
that was the subtitle right there.
That was the subtitle. "Please Let Me Have My Balls Back." But my God, it was so bad, because Iron Man 1 was a very good movie. I really enjoyed it. Iron Man 2 was a good, solid sequel. But then Iron Man 3, where his girlfriend saves him, and she gets like these superpowers. He says, "I'll destroy all my Iron Man robots for you," and he does. And I was just like, what? And you could tell like new writers had come in and said, "There's not enough vagina. We need more vagina in this movie. Take his balls off, put him in that purse. All right, give it to Pepper Potts. That's our movie. It's brilliant. It's about love." So I can understand how well, of course, I don't think there was a book called Iron Man 3, Where's My Vagina? I'm sure it was. But no, I understand. It's like being a chef. Like when you write this book, you need one cook in the kitchen, one captain of the ship. Otherwise, your work of art will be somehow marred or not intended as it was to be.
Yeah.
Mine is just the maybe I don't like the nuance of the detail so much that I don't develop that intimacy relationship with the author. But although I can't wait, that'd be great if when Doc's book comes out, it becomes a sensational hit like 50 Shades of Grey, and all these women develop a truly intimate crush on Dr. David because he's a father figure. He talks about safety. He cares about the children. And then he's got to hire John. What was that security thing about stalkers you told me? How do we communicate?
I just don't see that scenario playing out, but maybe you've got a different perspective on it, Anne.
Yeah, instead of chasing the snakes out of your wood pile, he's going to have to chase the bored housewives out of your wood pile.
Yeah, you'll have to fly my ass out there, and I'll have to stay up all night, like dealing with that kind of shit. Yeah, that's a great idea. But anyway, there's a super chat from Rita Bradford, sends $10 and just says thank you.
Holy shit! Thanks, Rita.
Yeah.
It's a girl too.
Assuming that was to me. I don't know.
It's probably to Anne. Probably saying, "God, you're putting up with all those boys." Poor Anne. So. Rita, who'd you say thank you for? Was that for me or John or Doc or what? What did you do?
I think she means us all.
Yeah.
Oh, Anne, that was so Unitarian.
I like it when we get super chats where there's no like request or.
Well, Aaron, do you remember last week we had a few of those? Do you remember that? People would like send money and didn't say anything. They would just like send money, like $2 for no reason. All right.
Yeah. If you guys want to send money, go right ahead. And for some reason, me and Chad had that today too. Like people were just throwing money at Chad. And I was like, oh, all right. I guess this is kind of what it's like to be a stripper. You get money thrown at us for no damn reason whatsoever.
It's like that's why I think I'm going to become a cam model. But Anne, I have a service call. Are you working on a new fiction?
Yeah. I'm writing a novella about. This happened 20 years ago, and I finally got my head around it enough to fictionalize it. I had a couple of roommates 20 years ago when we were living in this punk house, and one of them drove the other one to suicide.
Oh.
I was trying to learn to play the bass guitar, and one of them stole my bass guitar and pawned it to get enough heroin to get the nerve to hang himself. I finally like processed that whole incident enough to like write a sort of like gruesomely comic novella about it.
So is that coming out soon or what?
Yeah, it's coming out as well as soon as I have a home and can like it's kind of been, you know, on.
What are you living in a hut? Well, how do you not have a home now? Are you in Georgia, you said?
Yeah, keep it on the down low. But you got some shit going on there, you know.
Oh,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. I've been chased here and there. I mean, I actually had it was a kind of a funny misunderstanding with my host where I was protecting his identity and he was protecting my identity because I thought he was going to be embarrassed to have me here and he thought I was embarrassed to be here and it was this like what do you call it? Oh God, I can't remember the name of the short story. It was like an O. Henry moment of two people trying to protect each other, but nobody really gave a shit.
Oh. Will you hire Asshole Consulting before you make any more major life decisions in your life, please?
Yeah, well, I'm en route to LA, but as soon as I get there and I get some other work for hire finished, I'm going to finish up this novella. It's going to be called Brett and Leslie.
Oh, okay. He's got a working title. But as far as Ann hiring anyone, when it comes to advice, I'm not going to say any more, but the bitch don't listen because I gave her some good security.
They never do. Wait, hang on. John, let me ask you this. Did you charge her or no?
No.
See, that's...
The
Aaron is talking. They have to suffer pain, John. People need to suffer pain, otherwise they don't listen. That's why I charge. If there's one rule I've learned from Asshole Consulting is you charge and you cause pain so they listen.
Okay, well, I don't disagree with that. That's probably right on point, but I'm not gonna charge Ann money for shit.
I know, because we like it.
No, you're right. But Rita Bradford says, thank you to everybody. And Cowardly Dog says, John looks like a young Russell Crowe for all these single ladies out there. Actually, I kind of do, actually.
You sure?
Yeah. Oh. Actually, it was compared. Well, more like I have like that kind of Russell Crowe build, you know.
All right. I do want to get this one article out of the way, then we'll all go free here. You guys all know the Kavanaugh Ford bullshit, right? Going back 36 years.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of Doug Wardlow?
No.
Nope.
No.
This is local. We have a basically an anti-American running for state attorney general or whatever the state's Republican attorney general can. So it's the attorney general. The guy's name is Keith Ellison. And he had some kind of like, who was the comedian that became our senator? Al Franken. Yeah. Kind of like Al Franken. He had some gal accuse him of this. Me and DT talked about it 2 weeks ago. We think the accusations are bullshit, but it brought up an interesting point that, well, you Democrats want to play by the sword, you're going to die by the sword. So Ellison, who is pretty much a shoo-in because Minnesotans can't masturbate enough to people that hate him and want him dead, we're going to spill their sexual jizz over Keith Ellison and vote him in until this accusation, which I say is false, came out against him. Then all of a sudden his opponent, Doug Wardlow, started pulling ahead in the polls. It looks like this guy's going to win it until today, 5 a.m. Republican Attorney General candidate Doug Wardlow's record of opposing some gay rights dates back years. From Ryan Durant, a former high school classmate, Wardlow's views aren't a question of policy, they're personal. Durant, John, you're going to love this. Durant remembers Wardlow as a high school bully who repeatedly harassed him for being gay and as the person who mocked him after he attempted suicide in the 10th grade. Both Durant and Wardlow attended Egan High School and graduated in the class of, does anyone want to guess how far back they're going to go?
30 years.
No, 1997, which is,
okay.
It is 30 years ago, isn't it? No.
21 years ago.
21 years ago. So they're going to go back 21 years ago. In an account corroborated by several other students, so they went back to other high school students, Durant, 39, alleges that Wardlow, who is now 40, bullied him for years because of his sexual orientation. He said Wardlow made phallic remarks about him playing the flute in the band.
This one time at band camp?
Durant, I hope you're listening. You are a pussy. I honest to God, I was bullied in school, but my God, you got the flute. That old joke. That joke is haunting you 20 odd years later now. You said Wardlow called him derogatory terms like fag and faggot. John, didn't we call everyone a fag or a faggot back in the 90s?
Yes.
I mean, you could be the straightest guy ever. You say, dude, stop being a fag. And there was no homosexual connotation.
Yes.
And then escalated to more personal insults, such as people like you should be shot. Among the classmates corroborating the account is a former friend of Wardlow's who said he has also participated in the bullying. Of course, the name is not given. Wardlow, in an email statement to the Pioneer Press, denied ever doing anything remotely like the things alleged. And just so you know, this article goes on for about 5 pages, written by a guy called Ryan Faircloth and Dave Orrick. This is in a now defunct company called the Pioneer Press. It was St. Paul's main newspaper, but it's just a website now, and it's a joke. But I just wanted to point out that this is
this getting any traction in your local media?
Yeah. The Pioneer Press is it was like the main. It was one of there's the Minneapolis and St. Paul. Minneapolis has the Star and Sickle or Star Tribune, and St. Paul has the Pioneer Press. And the buildings have been shut down. They've been mothballed, and now everyone is an unpaid journalist writing for prestige. And as per all, I mean, we could look at David Orrick or these guys, but as per all journalism majors, they're just leftists promoting a propaganda. And what they don't realize is just how ridiculous this looks, where I was bullied and I was called names, and they're actually giving this guy who I'm going to point out is probably mentally ill. If you were trying to kill yourself in the 10th grade, I hope you wouldn't, but I don't believe this guy. I just don't. I don't believe it. Just as long a 36-year accusation of, oh, my boobies were felt or whatever the hell but this is standard now. This is now part of the Democrat playbook. They are going to go back and they're going to interview high school students. And if you ever called someone a fag back in 1993, oh my God, you can't run for attorney general now.
I can't run for anything, man. I couldn't run for dog catcher, man, because I'm in trouble.
Yeah. No, you're right on.
Sorry.
No, I'm just saying you're right on. And just imagine, I mean, when we were growing up, I mean, you had a roll of film, and film cost money, and then to have it developed. So, I mean, you only had a few photos. I mean, the kids today and the youth and in college and whatever, I mean, they're putting up 100 photos a day of everything. So, I mean, to go back and to pick, it's going to be just a mess.
I honestly, I'm going to link the Apu thing. You guys know how Apu is going to be removed from The Simpsons now?
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah. I think this is.
Do you want to tell people what Apu is for those?
Oh, Apu Napina Hasapedalon. He's Apu. Who doesn't know who Apu is? He's the East Indian character in The Simpsons.
Right. Well, I don't watch cartoons. I don't watch The Simpsons.
Okay. Well, anyway, I think we could say an iconic American figure by now. He's been however long The Simpsons has been running. Apu's been there. Well, they're taking Apu off The Simpsons because it's racist against East Indians. And it is a move like that. And when Speedy Gonzalez, remember how they tried to get rid of Speedy Gonzalez because it was disparaging the Latinos, and the Latinos are coming like, dude, we like Speedy. What the hell? This type of stuff that is going overboard. And now they're going to go back to high school and say, oh, they called me names in high school. The press and the Democrats have no clue what this looks like to the average American, Democrat or not, Republican or not. They're looking at us like, what are you, fucking Nazis? What the hell is wrong with you people? This goes beyond politics. You guys are just anti-fun and anti-American. You guys are the biggest bunch of professional victim whoring assholes, and not cool ones like me, genuine assholes who don't want anyone to have any fun. And my God, are you a bunch of elitist snobs to think somebody is without sin, that you're going to go back to high school and find someone that didn't utter the word fag or faggot? And so now people are like, well, wait a minute. I did call someone a butt muncher back in 8th grade or whatever, or a carpet muncher. I did call a woman a carpet girl. I pulled Susie Perkins' hair in the 4th grade. I copped a feel in the 8th grade. I pinched a girl in the ass in the 10th grade. Holy shit. I was in the dance. You guys remember the middle school dance where you'd waddle far away from each other? But if you got really close, maybe you put your hands in her back pockets? Anyone remember that?
No, nobody ever asked me to dance.
Snap the bra. And said we used to call them socials, and that was a big thing to do. Is like when you do the slow dance, would be snap the chick's bra in the back.
I would always go for the ass. All 3 times that I made an attempt over my illustrious middle school and high school career. Anyway, they are making it illegal to be human.
Yeah.
They're making it that they want to come after you if you're not. And you know what? God bless you. Democrats go run right. You eliminate Apu. You eliminate Speedy Gonzalez. You call Pepe Le Pew a sexual harasser. You say, hey, copping a feel in the 8th grade was bad if the drunk, ugly woman made it up in her mind 36 years later. This Pence principle really ought to be mentioned a little bit more because it goes into the insanity of how we got there, even though it was a short one. But by all means, I predict this is going to help with the red wave. I could be wrong. It could be blue. I truthfully don't care which way it goes because I'm going to enjoy the climb regardless. But I mean, if I had to put money on it now.
Someone asked about your predictions earlier on I don't know if you want to touch on that. Your predictions for the midterms.
I think it'll be a red wave, but don't quote me on it.
Right.
I don't know. I really don't. I don't claim to be these pollsters where you sit there at CNN with these fucking suits talk. Well, you see, they didn't bother. Shut the fuck up. I don't know what's going to happen. But just looking at that and knowing a couple, I don't even want to call them moderate Democrats, but blue collar Democrats, the 3 or 4 Democrats that still work for a living, like the union guys. They're like,
dogs. I don't think there's any of them left, actually, Aaron.
Well, but
they're all going for the Republicans now.
Yeah, they're voting Republican now because they're like, what do you mean we're taking away a poo? What do you mean I can't drunkenly hit on a girl at a bar? What in fuck's... I mean, you're making it illegal. About the only boys, the only males that the Democrats have left are the true believers, the true soy boys, like this asshole making the accusation. Even if it's true, that even makes it worse if it's true. He called me names. Like, oh my fucking God. Really? Really? So that's my prediction. I think that the Republicans might pick up 5 seats in the House. I think they'll hold the Senate, maybe gain 1. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was a blue wave either, because you have every other institution cheering on the Democrats. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, none of us here vote. I don't want to speak for David. I know Ann doesn't, and I don't.
I vote. I do a rear guard action, man. I want to delay as much as possible.
I vote for myself.
No, you don't, Ann. You're not even registered. Cowardly the Dog asked, John Steele, thoughts on James Whitey Bulger being killed today? I didn't know that. For those who don't know, James Whitey Bulger is the character Jack Nicholson was based on in Unforgiven.
Jack Nicholson? In Unforgiven?
The movie Unforgiven.
Clint Eastwood?
Leonardo DiCaprio. No, not Unforgiven. I'm sorry. The Departed. The Departed.
Oh, okay. All right.
The Departed with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jack Nicholson and I had everybody in that movie. Matt Damon, Baldwin guy, Martin Sheen, Mark Wahlberg, had everybody in there. Anyway, that Whitey Bulger was the Irish mobster that was the character that Jack Nicholson played was based on, and I didn't know that he died. Interesting. And I'm guessing you're asking because he's Irish and East Coast, but he was Boston. I was New York. But anyway.
It's pretty racist and assuming you would know something about that, John.
Yes, it is. And I'm highly offended now, and I have to go through my PTSD counseling.
Who put that there so when he runs for office, we could say he assumed John was Irish and was a mobster. That way he can't run for office 30 years from now.
Yeah, so that's where we are.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to wrap it up here because we've been on for a while, and I got to go to the bathroom, and frankly, I want to go to town and get some food. I got some fan mail. You know what? Let's do that. I'll do that on the Clary podcast, which will be on Friday. We'll have that later. I'll knock that out. If you guys would comment, like, and subscribe, especially like the video. If you guys are watching right now, or if you're in the chat room, please do that. And also subscribe. I like to have a little bit of a safety buffer on the number of subscribers. As long as it's above 2,000, then we can keep having the super chats come in and the channel can be monetized. Share the Older Brother podcast with people that you think would enjoy it as well. You have the option to donate or somehow financially help out the Older Brother podcast. You can do that by going to olderbrother.com/donate, of which there are 3 options. One is a PayPal donation. That only costs a 3% commission, and you get nothing in exchange for it. You can become a Patreon supporter. Link also there, of which I get 90%. Patreon gets 10%. But you also get nothing in exchange for that as well. Then there's the Amazon affiliate program, where it does not cost you anything more. All you have to do is go to olderbrother.com/donate, click on the Amazon logo, go buy stuff. And the prices is the same, but Amazon pays me a 6 to 7% commission and cut for all the purchases. So if you get into the habit of doing that for all your Amazon purchases, it doesn't cost you any more than what you're going to spend anyway. And you get to help out help out the show. There's also a new page called Manly Shit, and that's just cool manly shit I found on Amazon that some of you guys might like to buy. And then there is the email. If you'd like to send email, fan mail, or links or anything else like that, go and email it to olderbrother@yahoo.com. And that's about it. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen?
Yeah, actually, I just want to throw something out there quick. So
Sure.
Just a thank you. And Aaron, I let you know about this, but, the folks that take the time to shoot the 5-minute video and put it on YouTube of saying, it's the guys, okay? It's the guys saying, here's how to change your headlight on your Buick. And
Okay.
for Christ's sakes, like the 8, and every one of them starts out there like, this is going to be one of the worst goddamn hours of your life. But I went through it. I'm going to get you through it. And they set the camera up and they're like, here's how to do this. Thank you. I mean, just thank you to the brotherhood of men that are doing that, because whether it be that or replacing something on an air conditioner.
Well, tell everybody the story behind it, because it is pretty funny. People don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so on my Buick, one of the headlight burns out, and the first time I had to replace a light on this thing. So I take it apart, and I'm like, Jesus, this is like just. So then I'm calling up AutoZone and O'Reilly's and stuff like that, and I'm like, you guys got any pointers on this? Or like, oh yeah, that's a real shitty issue there with that model. It's just the way it is. And so I got the light, and I actually got 2 lights, because you replace them out in pairs. I went online and I found like 8 videos, and I found a couple where they're really useful. Like one guy had a piece of wood, and he's like, if you use this and you tap, you can start to loosen this up. Because you got to get your hand in there, which will work if you're about 3 years old and you can put your hand on there and get enough torque to turn this thing. And, the back where the light comes out. So anyway, yeah, the videos, I watched a few, took a few notes, went out, made sense. I did exactly, just the brotherhood. And these are just people, shooting with a phone cam or something like that. I'll tell you, one dude put like a soundtrack to his video, like a boom, 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 doop, doop, doop. Like, dude, not a goddamn soundtrack to a video on how to change a headlight. I'm like, I just need to hear. Here's the first thing I did. Second thing, this is going to suck. Like, you're going to, watch your knuckles on this. But one of my cousins worked for GM as an engineer, and he was telling me, he's like, you know what though? He said, the thing you got to remember, when they're building the cars, they're not built in sequence. It's kind of like we were talking about an author writing a book. You've got different departments, different people. So like the headlight might have been designed great, and then they just
in Mexico.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then something comes up, and they're like, "Oh shit, we got to move like the radiator forward 2 more inches, and we got to move this battery compartment." And then whoever made the headlight gets fucked over, their department, because that's the least priority, and that's already done. So he's like, you got to look at the whole thing, but it worked out, it's so many times, and I was just kind of observing. I mean, on these types of things, it really is guys taking the time and to helping out other guys, just putting some videos up there. Just appreciate it.
Well, YouTube has replaced many fathers, or was the father you never had, because like, oh, hey, this guy knows how to fix this. My dad all he knew how to do, not my personal dad saying, you know, all my dad knew how to do was do Excel spreadsheets, you know, and that's all he could teach me. But yeah, YouTube is great for young men and old men alike.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just think it was a cool thing. And, you know, just, we talk about an evolution of technology and just some giving back. And, but yeah, you know, it helped me out. So I don't know what value that brings, but I think it is one of these things where technology and all of that can get painted in these really crazy ways, but still, like, you know, like the brotherhood of men is kind of what, like, you know, these 8 videos were. It was like, I went through this, it's going to suck, but here's some tips, you know, hang in there, you get through it. And I'm like, yeah, got it.
Yeah, no, I want to just echo your exact sentiments, because I was doing some wiring in my house and I downloaded some, watched some YouTube videos and made everything like really clear on, you know, on what I was doing. And yeah, I got to say, yeah. And these guys, I don't think they're really getting anything out of it per se.
No, nothing.
And yeah, it's great that they do that. I agree with you. Yeah. All strength of the brotherhood, you know, what's left of it. Cause in with few generations, you know, men won't even have balls anymore.
I respected those tradesmen and how they put together those videos, like, you know, how to clean a carburetor, or how to do this. So I'm like, well, my profession is finance, and I did retirement planning in 11 easy steps, or 11 minutes, retirement planning another 11 minutes. And I thought, I'm going to give this, you know, I'll give back in people. And I think it's got like maybe 10,000, if that. I'm like, God damn it. I just showed you how to retire dirt cheap in under 11 minutes. And like, no, they don't want to listen to that. But I think it's still out there if any of you are looking for that and want a quick tutorial on retirement planning. All right, Ann, where can we find you?
AnnStrziger.com or Amazon.com.
All right, cool. Doc?
SafetyPhD.com.
And John, you put out a video with not Artistic Layman. You interviewed someone. What was your video?
James, yeah.
English James, yeah.
It's a fun little thing we did. You can find that at John Steele Show on YouTube, and you can find me at John_Steele99 on Twitter.
And then remember, visit our other co-hosts. We have tjmartinell.com if you want to check out his podcast and his site at tjmartinell.com. Michael Kingswood, you can find his books and his stuff over at noncommunistsciencefiction.com. I think that's it. Yeah, I think he's got that one. And then I think that's everybody. So, all right, ladies, gentlemen, thank you for being on the show and for listening, guys. Thank you for all the super chats. We'll see you guys next week. Toodle.